Now, I want to say something, man. It's good to see Ray Allen here, man. Real shit. Hey, Lord. It's good to see you here, Ray. You next, Lord.
Today is about Ray Allen. As you all know, the great, the legendary, the Hall of Fame, Kevin Garnett had his number 5 jersey retired this past Sunday, TD Garden, and we had a reunion of the Big Three. It was emotional. It was incredible. I don't need to tell you how much drama and just what the last decade has been like. I mean, this was a team in, 2007 when they came together, winning a title. In 2008, you're talking about the largest turnaround from a 15th seed to the number 1 seed. I mean, it was what? I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was like a 20-something win team to a 60-something win team. We go through the playoffs, game 7 against a 7-game series against Atlanta, 7-game series against Cleveland. We beat the 2004 champion Pistons in the ECF. Then we go, and of course, who's waiting for us but Kobe Bryant and the Los Angeles Lakers? Why don't we refuel that legendary rivalry as we beat them in 6? Oh, by the way, in that game, Ray Allen was like 7 for 9 with like 26 points, 7 for 9 from 3 with like 26 points in that game 6 closeout to win the championship. One of, like I said, the greatest seasons of all time. I would say in my lifetime, that was like right when I was in high school, guys. So you're talking about at the heights of my, sports career and, where I'm playing football, basketball, wrestling, baseball, doing it all. And I'm the only Celtics fan, and my guys go from struggling to all of a sudden now Paul Pierce has Ray Allen, KG, and we're title contenders and winning championships. It was an amazing time to be a Celtic. And I mean, they would go on the next year. Obviously, KG with the late season knee injury kind of got us derailed. We would lose to Dwight Howard in the semis that year with the Orlando Magic. 2010, we're healthy. Now Rondo, Big Four. Actually, we send all 4 to the All-Stars first time. And however, I mean, has that ever been done for? But we end up going to the finals again. And who's waiting for us? The Los Angeles Lakers. Kobe Bryant gets his revenge. Obviously, shortly after that, LeBron James and the Miami Heat Big Three would form. And, we would battle them for, 2 years. Couldn't get over them. Obviously, Ray ends up leaving and he goes to Miami, wins a championship there in 2013. And the rest is basically history, right? So KG, Paul Pierce would go to play another season before ultimately getting traded. And what is the infamous Brooklyn trade as they end up going to the Nets. We get the picks. We get back, Gerald Wallace, Humphreys, whoever else was involved. And like I said, Ray Allen, let's talk about Ray a little bit. First off, who is Ray Allen? Hall of Famer, 10-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, 2-time NBA champion, 2008 with the Boston Celtics, 2013 with the Miami Heat, a member of the 75th team. And he's considered, number 2 or 3, one of the top 3 greatest shooters of all time. He's a career 19-4 and about 3.5. Career 40% from 3 on about, just under 6 attempts a game. He had a run from about 2003 to about 2007, just before he got to Boston with Seattle, where he pretty much averaged between 23 and 26 points a game, between 4 to 5 rebounds and assists. Was one of the best players, a perennial all-star in the game. Now, he would play 5 total seasons with Boston. He would average in the entirety of his career with Boston 16.7 points, 3.4 rebounds, 2.7 assists. He would shoot 41% from 3 on about 5.4 attempts. In the 5 seasons, he was a 3-time All-Star, and as mentioned, a 2008 NBA champ, as well as a 2-time Eastern Conference champion in 2008 and 2010. And 91 career playoff games with Boston. he would average 15.5 points, 3.7 rebounds, 2.3 assists. And in the 2008 finals, he would average 20 points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. And as I mentioned, in that closeout game, he had 26 points on 7 for 9 shooting from the three. His best season with Boston, he averaged 18.2 points, 3.5 rebounds, 2.8 assists. Now, forgive me as I transition over, guys, but excuse me, as I just kind of share some of my thoughts. Here's Ray right here. All of his accomplishments, credentials, accolades, all right up in here. As I mentioned, all-star champ. Here's some of his stats. As you can see, Boston's going to be down here. I mean, he was 32. Keep that in mind. I mean, all these guys, he was 32 when he got to Boston. So he had already had an incredible career with, you know, the Bucks or Milwaukee and Seattle. But I guess my whole thing, guys, is the argument for and against it, right? Does Ray Allen deserve to have his number 20 jersey retired? Well, the people that are making the argument for it usually starts right with, you know, well, KG recently had his, you know, he only played one more season, part of the big three, you know, and that's really where the strength of their argument. I went over a bunch of his credentials. So, you know, 3-time All-Star, NBA champ. So that's their argument. Now, the people against it, and let's first, I am one of the people that are against it, guys. Forgive me, I know. But my initial thought was yes. When I was initially, when KG came out with his whole thing with, and that's what started this whole Ray, you next, and you know.
Ray next, damn it.
I was with it, yes, you know. But once I've looked into it more, I'm not. I do not think it, because I think it really then would open up this huge door where it's just like, where does it stop at that point? And this is already a team with 24. You know, that KG was the 24th jersey retired. So first, let's compare the two, because they'll say, well, KG only played one more season. That's true, but in his 6 seasons, and don't forget, one of them, it was an injury, but 6 seasons, he was a 5-time All-Star to Ray's 3. He was a 2-time All-NBA. Ray didn't get any with Boston. 5-time All-Defense. You can't compare the two on the defensive end. And not only was KG an MVP, or excuse me, an NBA champion, he was also the Defensive Player of the Year. So you can't even compare the two stats, you know, I mean, or you can compare stats if you want to go that route. You know, KG was a career, you know, 18, whatever you want to do those, if that's, but when you talk about accomplishments, KG had more All-Stars, he had more All-NBAs, he all defense, he had a Defensive Player of the Year. You can't even compare the two of those. And I mean, but even more so than that, that's not really where this argument's at. I don't expect Ray to have KG's accomplishments. But let me ask you this. If the season was to end at the end of this season, let's say the Boston Celtics won a championship, right? If Boston wins a championship, this is all hypothetical. If they won a championship this year, and my co-host, my brother, my boy Bobby got his wish, and Giannis said, you know what? I want to get traded to Boston. And the only way is if y'all give us both Brown and Tatum. So Brown and Tatum are gone now, right? They're both traded. They're never coming back. Their careers with Boston ended, right? So, and they won a championship this year. So they're both champions now, right? Jaylen Brown would have played 6 seasons, and he would have averaged 16, 5, and 2. He's an all-star, right? One of the best two-ways in the game. If you look at his best statistical season, remember what I said Ray's was? What, 18 something, like something along 18, 3 and 3? JB's best season, 25, 6 and 3. Ray's a 40% career shooter. JB's a 37. And again, defense to defense. So I ask you, if they won a championship this year, and if Jaylen Brown was gone, would his jersey, number 7, be retired? Similar stats. 16 points for him, 16 points for Ray. Let's move on and we'll get back to that. Jayson Tatum. Well, what a coincidence. This is his 5th season. Let's say they win a championship, he moves on. 5 seasons just like Ray. Guess what? 3-time All-Star, just like Ray. All-NBA. His career numbers, though, closer to 21 points, 6.5 rebounds, 3 assists. He's a 38% career 3-point shooter on 5 and almost 6 attempts. If they won a championship this year, would Jayson Tatum's jersey be retired? What about Al Horford? He's been, 4 seasons? He's a career with Boston, 13, 7, and 4.5. Made an all-star team with Boston. If he won a championship, do you kind of see what I'm getting at, guys? Somebody actually made a joke about an Antoine Walker recently. I think it was Bobby or Bree. Shout out to both my co-hosts and the stream we did. But go look at Antoine Walker's career numbers with Boston. It was damn near, it's like 21-8 or something. And he's a champion. Obviously, it was with Miami in 2006. But do you see where I'm going with this? It's at some point, like if you let Ray in, who was a 3-time All-Star, only played 5 seasons, and his, career numbers in Boston were 16, 3, and 3. His playoff numbers, 15, 3, and 2. I mean, at what point does it stop? It's like both Jaylen and Jayson, if they won a championship this year and retired, both 7 and 0, you're telling me would both go up as well? I could maybe make the case for Jayson's, but you think Jaylen's or Al? I mean, it's just, to me, it's already kind of gotten out of control. You know what I mean? It's like, I understand the history of this franchise better than most. I have been a Celtics fan my entire life. I come from generations of deep-rooted Celtics diehard fans, from my parents to great-grandparents. So I grew up with Larry Bird and guys like that being drilled into me, you know what I mean? But I recently heard somebody recommend having the names retired opposed to jerseys. I love that, because at some point, I mean, shit, you've got people wearing the 90s and stuff now. It'll be 00. I mean, it's just, at some point, it has to stop. Or at some point, credentials and an actual, this is what the checklist requirements, something has to be put in place, because the damn Celtics with 24 were running out of, popular numbers already. And that might sound silly, but that shit means something, You got damn Schroeder wearing 71. And I mean, Lord have mercy. But I think Ray is an extremely important member of the Boston Celtics history. He's a champion, for better or worse, or, love him or hate him. He's a very important part of this team's history, both good and bad, because that 5-year run is incredible. Him and KG coming back brought a title back to Title Town. And then obviously the aftermath when him leaving, that was kind of like, that really stung and made a really great rivalry with Miami. It's like, so Ray's a Hall of Famer. One of the greatest ever, 75th team, 10-time All-Star. I mean, a GOAT shooter, arguably right up there, the greatest shot of all time. That Game 6 clutch against San Antonio. I mean, shit, that's another reason it stings, because if he didn't leave, he leaves for less money to go to a team where if he wasn't with that team, they probably don't win that damn title. But anyways, guys, Boston Celtics are back tonight. Golden State, let's hope they get back on a winning track, because it is really a log jam in the East right now. Not that many games to go, so it'd be really every game matters. I mean, just put it like that. I'm not sure if we're going to do a pre or post game because it is so damn late, but we will do reactions after the fact to the video. another episode of Trust the Podcast coming up soon. Otherwise, guys, Jags to Riches, James Peters, thank you all so much for your time. Shout out to my co-host, Bree, Bobby. Thank you all for everyone that tuned in the other day. It was an excellent, fun broadcast. Again, this Celtics Corner is on fire. Thank everyone. Both my channels, my Jags to Riches channel has literally doubled since February. Celtics Corner, Bobby basically said it's in the entirety of that channel's history. It's the second largest growth spurt in its history. So again, thank you all so much. So many compliments and kind words. It's overwhelming. Again, guys, I cannot thank you enough. I'm honored and humbled. I hope you all have an incredible conclusion to your week. Thank you again for your time. Jags to Riches, James Peters. Take care, guys.